Welcome to the third module. In this module, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about motivation, and we're also going to talk about communication. I'll try not to be as long, okay, in this introduction to this module as I was in the last one. First of all, when we think about motivation, which is a very exciting subject, because we want to know, why do people do the things that they do? Why does one person do one thing when we give them a command and another person do another thing? Individuals are very strange, in fact. Everybody's so different. What is the root of all motivation? I think in order to understand why people do the things they do, we have to understand what the roots of motivation are. In English, the two roots of motivation each begin with the letter P. The two words that motivate all individuals begin with the letter P. The first of those is pleasure. People do things because they're trying to get pleasure for themselves. It's not for the money. It's what the money can give us in terms of pleasure. Sure, it's a pleasure to have money and financial security, but we're looking in order to do things that make us happy or that we can make other people happy with. The second motivation, which is actually more powerful than the first, which also starts with a P, is pain. People will do anything to avoid pain. Okay? If there's any way we can get out of feeling sick or being hurt or being offended by somebody, we will try and get out of that. Okay? Now those are just the roots of motivation. As you go through this chapter, you're going to look at some of the major theories of motivation. What are some of the main things that cause people to be motivated? We might think about management by objective. What is that? Management by objective. Well, the research tells us, and we know for sure that it's true, that if we give people a specific objective that's measurable, in other words, it can be counted, and we make them accountable for that objective. In other words, we say to them, I'm going to come back and check or control to see that if you've done what you've said you're going to do within a certain amount of time, that person is going to be more motivated. First of all, because of the pain. They don't want to look lazy or stupid when you come back and they haven't finished what they said they were going to finish. This objective also needs to be realistic or relevant. If we give people objectives that are so difficult they can never reach them, we'll actually discourage them and they won't do anything at all. So we need to have objectives that are realistic, that are achievable for individuals, and we need to have a timeline. Okay? Many times as managers, we're afraid to hold people accountable, okay? To make them tell us what is it that they hope to accomplish within a certain amount of time, and when are they going to show us what they've done, okay? If they have problems, that's fine, but we've got to be able to get together with them and spend that time with them. Another way that we motivate individuals is called management by walking. Now that sounds like a silly thing, management by walking. What is that, and why is it so important? Somebody says, if you're going to motivate individuals in your organization, you've got to get out of your office and you've got to go to them and find out what they're doing. Now this is a very delicate balance, because when are we motivating somebody and when are we controlling them? People do not like to be controlled. Okay? If people have the feeling that you're watching them all day long and you're looking over their back to see if they're working or not working, they won't be very productive. We know that. So this motivation thing. I was the director of the largest regional tennis club in my area of France for many years. And I hired a teacher one time. He was a Belgian champion in tennis. And I was going to tennis practice. Not that I'm such a great tennis player, but my son was a very good tennis player. I was actually playing on the third team for men. And we had practice very late at night. Around 10 o'clock in the evening we started our practice. I was very, very tired. And the tennis instructor, the Belgian guy, said, okay, today what we're going to do, when the ball hits the ground, rather than waiting for it to come to us, we're going to attack it. And the moment that it starts to come up, we're going to come forward and swing through the ball, okay, on its way up. We're going to work on attack today. So the instructor was off far away on one of the other courts, and I was hitting the ball, and I was thinking about work, and some of the tennis balls were going into the ceiling, and some of them were going into the window on the side of the court, or they were going into the net, and I didn't really care. I was trying to think about everything that I needed to get done for tomorrow, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see the tennis coach coming towards my court. And then I started thinking, what was it that he told us to do? And I started concentrating. Okay, I'm going to take the ball early. I'm going to follow through. And my balls started going over the net and landing where they were supposed to land. Now, was my tennis coach controlling me? No. He was trying to help me. Management by walking. If we're going to motivate individuals, we've got to be able to spend time with them. Okay, the second subject, okay, you're going to go into more detail in your reading and find out a lot about motivation. This is a fascinating subject for students, of course, in management. But the second thing I want us to talk about is communication. There's all different kinds of communication. We have oral communication, written communication, etc. And communication is not just about the talking we do, but also about the listening that we do. And I want us to think about active listening and the importance of it. But I also want us to think about communicating before a group of people or in a PowerPoint presentation. Okay? Communication is important, not just the details, not just the product or the service or the theories of management, okay? But it's also important that we attract the audience. And I want you to think about, and I've got a Word document in this section that will tell you effective communication has 4 ingredients. There's a hook. Okay, how do we bring the people into our conversation? There's a look. We're going to tell people what is it we're going to talk about today. There's a book. We're going to go into the details of what we're going to say. And there's a hook. How do we convince people that what we've just told them is the most important thing that they've ever heard in their entire life? As a leader or a manager in an organization, whether it be international or local, your communication is extremely important. You've got to be able to communicate in a clear, precise, and persuasive manner, and part of that is a methodology. There's tools for that. So I want you to look at the hook thing, and I want you to think about how in your own communication you can add hooks and things that bring people into the conversation. It can be a question, it can be humor, it can be information, new information or facts, etc. So enjoy this chapter. For me, like I said, these are 2 of the most important subjects in management, motivation and communication. Again, any questions, call me. I'm here.